Hi, and welcome to Blue's Garden. And guess what day it is? Actually, guess what week it is? It was a very, very busy week this week in Blue's Garden world. I made some blueberry jam. I harvested a bunch of stuff. I dehydrated a bunch of herbs. And I also did some, finally, planting of my garlic, hardneck garlic into the garden. That's what you do in middle of October. Somewhere in there, I also managed to squeeze in a massive show for uh, the Celtics Charitable Foundation. So there were a lot of late nights and 20-hour days and 17, 18, 19, 20-hour days in there. So let's take a quick look. And of course, while cleaning up the garden, it's important to take the stuff that's healthy, not infected, and cut it up into as small pieces as you can into the compost pile so it'll be ready and wonderful, rich organics next spring. I'm just doing a little yard cleanup near the garden. Any leftover pots, anything that I have that's not diseased, I can put into the compost pile. Like I said, I like to cut everything up as small as I can. That sort of gives a head start to some of the compost. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those leftover. These second planting zucchini, were a real disappointment. They were amazing in that I got tons and tons of blossoms, but they were all male. No female blossoms. So again, pulling them out, prepping the bed, this will eventually be where the garlic goes. And, as I'm going through, I cut everything up again, the smallest pieces I can for the compost. And any little bits of cardboard I find in there or other organics that can go in the compost. There's some chives in here and some green onion, whatnot. Those, I pulled most of them out and pulled them aside. I did have some leeks that I will leave, but everything else, just try and get rid of any of the weeds and leave the garden fresh and ready for what goes next. Chop, chop, chop. We go into compost. Last of some of my pepper plants are going away. And this got a pile of leaves and grass that I mowed. This is a year old, and this is something that'll be a year old in a year from now. I like to try and stay 6 months or a year ahead of what I need. A little bit of harvest here and there. Got some raspberries. I think it's the last of my raspberries. Maybe one or two more times, but. And a nice little harvest. My rotations of lettuce that I've got going, I am putting in some seed this weekend. Some herbs, some strawberries. Got to figure out where I'm going to put those in the ground somewhere. A little tour of my couple of eggplant that'll come. That's some caponade for later in the week. My black cherry. A little more, soon to be. Hopefully those green ones will ripen up before the cold gets. Green bell pepper. These are some brandywine that end up more brandywine. Brandywine yellow, I believe these ones are. That is a pineapple tomato. Really tasty. Some more of the probably every other day at this point. Some peppers that came in. That was the green bell we saw earlier. Those are some of the green onion I pulled out and some surprises that I found in. Finally managed to plant my garlic. And like I said, time for garlic. So a week or so before everything goes in, I like to give it a pretty even NPK fertilizer. Just work it into the ground. It's a granular organic, and I already mixed in a little bit of compost into this, and I'll just scratch it into the surface a little. I'll feed it again early spring, but for now, about a week before I put the garlic in. These are the surprise onions. Sorry, that's a little edited a little out of order, but and the green onion that I harvest. And that little green that you see in the middle of the bed is actually some leeks that I'll pull out in a few more weeks. There's those leeks again, looking from the other side. Bed is ready. Some green onion up in the top corner there. And now I'm just going to separate out some larger cloves in prep. So the first thing you do is, these have been out drying for a while, so I'll just chop off the roots. And I don't want to remove all the paper, but, pull the cloves apart. I pull each individual clove. These are not going to be great for long-term storage, but they're perfect for planting. Decent-sized cloves, and then the only thing you're left with is the large hard neck itself. So try not to remove all the paper off of the cloves, and nothing but that long hard neck in the middle. That's a smaller clove that isn't quite big enough for me for planting. I got plenty of other large cloves. Bigger the clove, the more energy that's stored, the better your chances of a decent bulb come springtime. Again, roots off. Start pulling them out, separating them up. Any of the small ones we'll set aside and use fairly soon. This still leaves me with a ton of garlic to go. So for me, garlic, I want it to be, and they say anywhere between 4 and 6 inches apart. 4, 5, 6 inches is fine. It's not perfect. I don't measure. I do roughly. That square of cardboard is 6 inches aside, so I sort of have it in my head. I'm not going to measure each one, but I use that as a guide. I take a screwdriver, I hold it by the pointy metal and put the fatter handle down, and that's my shove it into the ground, give me 4 inches or so, 3-4 inches of depth. That's really 3 inches or so, and I pop a clove inside each one of those holes. This is the slow way. In a second, I'll show you how I remembered. Oh, wait. It goes a little faster when I do it this other way. So, individual hole, pop a clove in. Individual hole, pop a clove in. Yeah, that really slows it up. So, here's what I did after. I'm going to lay them all out, and then cloves are all in place, pick them up, push the hole in, and pop it in. That goes much faster. Again, about 4 to 6 inches, and I kind of offset them so that they're in a offset pattern. It just gives a little more separation from bulb to bulb. And you'll see that pattern in a sec when I take a better shot. Offset the rows a little. All right, so they're all laid out. Then it's easy to come back and pop it in, put the screwdriver, the handle down, fat hole in, clove in, cover it up. Fat handle down, clove in, about 3 inches or so, cover it up. Fat end of the handle down, clove in, cover it up. So the spacing is 6 inches between rows and 4 to 6 inches apart. And then next up is you never want to leave it bare and uncovered. So about 2 inches or so of some garden straw, not hay, straw, so you don't get seed in there. And some light on top, and then add some extra down the top. And there you have the garlic. Here we go, dehydrating some herbs. One thing I have going almost all the time is herbs. I'm just constantly planting new seeds of herbs. I grow them indoors all winter long under the grow lights. And so I either have fresh herbs or, in this case, these guys are maybe just a touch past their peak. So cut them up, and these will be dried. I'll do an herb mix. Got some oregano, some parsley, some thyme, and some sage. This is the sage. Separate all the leaves, get rid of the stem, the woody stem stuff. Into the dehydrator. And it ended up being about 12 hours or so at 130 Fahrenheit. These are some green onion that I have dehydrated, and those I'm not pulverized completely to a powder, but I'll certainly break them down a lot. I use these when I'm cooking. I'll just add some onion into a mix when I'm cooking. So, and like I said, I managed to squeeze in making a small batch of blueberries. Not the best year for blueberries, so making a small batch of blueberry jam. I'll go into a little nicer, more in-depth video, but the blueberry jam, much less harvest this year than years past, but still enough to get a decent few jars. I like to use the little tiny ones for gifts, and we've already cracked it open. It's really yummy. I'll give you a better video later on the blueberry. Somewhere along the lines, my daughter and I had dueling parties. I was at downtown Boston in a hotel doing a big charity event, and in my regular day job, which is lights, sound, and video production. And she was at home having a movie night outside with one of my projectors, and decided to do a little cooking of her own. For those of you that know me, I do for a living lighting, sound, and video for corporate events. And this was a big fundraiser for one of the teams in the Boston area that play. The Boston Celtics had a team, so they were auctioning. It's a big charity event, auctioning off a whole lot of memorabilia and fundraiser for their charity. And I'm not the only one that does parties. So this is my oldest. She's actually making some Jell-O shots and some crispy Rice Krispie treats for a party she's hosting. Like I said, it was quite a busy week. Usual harvesting, almost the end of, I think pretty close to the end of my vegetables. I only have some tomatoes and maybe one pepper plant left and two eggplants plants left, as well as some winter squash, but I don't count them. That's more for decor. Raspberries are just about done. I'm beginning to do my canning, doing a lot of jams, jellies, liqueurs, drying my herbs, drying my garlic that I'm not using or putting up to save. and obviously just the regular work week. But the exciting news is the beginning of the growing season for 2026 has begun. Garlic is in the ground. Now all I have to do is wait for August. Well, July. I really want to thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to me. That helps my channel grow, and that helps you grow. Thank you very much.